Hi, my name is Chloe, and today I've been given the opportunity to speak to you from the future. So now the year is 2050. Blue skies are a rarity, clean water is priceless, and our health is constantly tested. This is the world we wake up to, the world our children and our children's children will wake up to until the climate's steep decline will inevitably come to an agonizing end. This is the burden dropped on our shoulders, a burden we aren't responsible for, yet one we will spend the rest of our lives fighting and grappling to no avail. Because now, in 2050, it's too late. Because our fathers and our fathers' fathers have danced selfishly in the bliss of ignorance for too long, and my brothers and sisters must pay the price. For decades, every year had borne new signs of our impending doom. Records for worse storms and high temperatures and largest floods were conquered without fail, yet still you paid no heed. Today, devastations run rampant in the streets of Indonesia and are concentrated in Jakarta, your beloved capital. But the Jakarta you know is not the same wasteland we are trapped in, 29 years later and 4 degrees warmer. On one hand, dry seasons are drier. During these strenuous months, water, our most vital resource, is scarce. Dehydration torments all populations, rich or poor. These people, desperate for water, resort to extreme remedies, using contaminated water bodies for bathing, sewage, and drinking purposes alike. Such poor sanitation drives waterborne diseases, with malaria, dengue fever, and diarrhea stripping the lives of thousands. In dire times, the rainfall we so desperately need is non existent. And as a result, agricultural and aquacultural production, along with the economy, suffers. Farmers and fishermen are forced to scour dwindling sources of income while the nation's masses struggle to find food to sustain themselves. But efforts to assist this widespread famine and misery are useless, as the malnourished and the starving became a typical sight. And these terrors that annually break out across the nation are reflected in the people's behavior. Crime rates have skyrocketed because, for many, the only option for survival is through looting and fighting for the barest of necessities. Now, on the other hand, wet seasons are getting wetter. Global warming has worsened tropical storms and weather patterns and has aggravated rising sea levels. A natural disaster you all are familiar with, floods, is still our greatest enemy, and we are perpetually losing the battle. These floods have grown far more extreme, spreading across 110 kilometers more land in Jakarta. Homes and businesses are wholly inundated as our coastal areas are almost entirely submerged. Areas which hosted marine activities that were once a vital part of our country's economy. Offshore or naval industries, resource extraction, fish cultivation, and tourism, all these fields are mere fiction today. Necessary services like healthcare, education, electricity, and transportation are substantially destroyed by the floodwaters. The destruction of infrastructure and communication links has left economic productivity at a standstill. The public education system is altered and deteriorated, and our healthcare is hanging by a thread. Life as you know it is completely dysfunctional. More than 23 million people are displaced throughout the country with no place to seek refuge, and countless others who depended on coastal industries have lost their livelihoods. The cost of relocation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction are unbearable. Injury, illness, death, people are suffering under ever changing climates, ranging from severe heat waves and prolonged droughts to extreme storms and intense flooding. So now, as I look at the world around me, the people's cries for help, the government's shameful incompetence, the climate's overdue rage, I can only imagine the cruelty of those who stole the beauty of Earth away from my generation and generations to come. My ancestors, who were too afraid to leave their comfort zones no matter the cost, who thrived in procrastination and lived in a delusion where they believed that we still had time, where they lied to themselves every day saying, maybe tomorrow, maybe next year. Well, now 30 years later, we see nothing but the consequences of your ignorance. By turning the other cheek, you have designed a society where your children are unbelievably lucky to have clean water or a standing home, where fresh air and large feasts are only imaginable, where your children's greatest hopes and dreams are not to explore the realms of commerce, but to undo your mistakes. But now, I am given the chance to speak to you today, 30 years young, and I've but one thing on my mind. I am disappointed. How many lives lost, upended, or destabilized will be enough to make you change your toxic patterns? Your task was simple. You were given the most obvious signs, plastered on news reports, evident in fatality rates, crystal clear in scientific predictions. Every warning was vocalized and smothered right in front of your eyes, yet still, you were blind. You chose to be blind. to release 5 metric tons of carbon dioxide with their gas running vehicles every year, to promote and stimulate the factories that release more than 600 million tons of greenhouse gases annually, to normalize the companies cutting down and burning our lungs, the forest, even to refuse to spare a second of your time and turn off that tap or that light bulb or air conditioning. You chose to disregard the planet's dying screams for your comfort at our survival's expense. Now we are giving you one last opportunity to reverse your demise, to realize the tragic future that awaits and take the steps required to prevent it. However, it will need every individual effort, every home, business, industry, and authority to combat this crisis. Ignore those inner demons that say just one person can't make a difference, because it is clear we have no time for that indolent mindset. Now, it may seem impossible, but I do believe, with all hands on deck, that you can do it, because our future depends on it. So, this is not a plea for pity or a cry for sympathy. This alter your lifestyle and normalize a net zero world. Please, because there is no second chance. Thank you.